So welcome back, everybody. As promised in the earlier session, I'm going to share a children's story that's meant for adults. So I was writing, as I said earlier, I was writing this story with an illustrator. And what seemingly came up was just a series of stories. So here it goes. So apparently, once upon a time, in the infinite expression of timelessness, in Never Never Land, something happened that never really happened. The story of three blind mice who were not always blind. And no, not those popular Three Blind Mice that was made into a song, but a different trio. A very in-demand, extra special performers, the magnificent trio of magicians named Sat, Chit, and Ananda. In their heydays, they were the main event, the headliners in a circus. They were a circus act. They were the extraordinary, but also a phenomenal on their own. They have a 4-part act with the grand finale of all of them performing at the same time, a 3-ring circus. For the first act, Sat randomly picked an audience, and just by looking at them, he exposes 3 truths about them. He will say to the lucky participant 3 things that reduces them to tears. And he tells the participant that you are truth. You are pure. You are God. The participant, loving the truth that was shared, showers the mice with gold coins and adorations. For the second act, Chit performs a high wire act, balancing on a thin wire while spinning 2 plates on each hand. The audience sits at the edge of their chair and releases a collective gasp when Chit reaches the other side. With its supreme focus in consciousness, Chit announces to the audience that he is pure consciousness and has achieved perfect balance and perfection. For the third act, Ananda displays her prowess in superior bliss by taming the most dangerous animals by whipping them into submission. The lion jumps through the hoops, the bear riding a small bicycle, and the 2 tigers opening their mouths. While not breaking a smile and the occasional giddy laughter, she places her head, displaying her permanent bliss. For the finale, a 3-ring circus act was quite a spectacle. They were untouchable and widely adored and could do no wrong. They maintained the pristine image of mixture of superiority and divinity. One unfortunate evening, they were warned by their ringmaster on the upcoming storm. They were also told that some of the audience figured out that the whole truth was a sham. They were also told that the audience discovered that it was not really a high wire, but a plank looking really flat. They also discovered that the apparent wire walker was always intoxicated by drinking too much rat poison. Meanwhile, they were also informed that the animals were getting really impatient and they were not being drugged properly. The ringmaster said, everybody knows that this is a sham. People will find out the truth. And then one by one, Sat said, well, I am the truth. Chit said, well, I am the consciousness. And Ananda said, well, I am bliss. Nothing can go wrong. Nothing can go wrong. So the circus must go on. So the plea to cancel the show was unheard. So the show goes on. Everyone got up to their feet, bewildered and clapping and crying. They opened the act by making proclamations that they have achieved the ultimate attainment. And by attending the show, their audience is going to be transmitting the truth the consciousness, and the bliss. How lucky they are to be graced by the trinity of attainment. Out of nowhere, a loud bang from the storm outside. And he said, don't worry. Don't worry about the outside. Everything inside is protected. So all of a sudden, the three-ring circus went on. On the first stage, there was a truth teller. The second stage, the conscious walker. And the third, the blissful animal tamer. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a loud whistle hushed the trio and the audience. A whistleblower cried, I am here to expose the fraud that has been going on for years. Sat intoxicates his audience to make them believe that he is God. Chit is walking on a plank, not a wire, because he is a drunk. And Ananda is an animal abuser that drugs all of her animals. Sat yelled, get him out of here. Lies, they are all lies. Before he could utter another word, a loud sound of cord breaking the first ring, the second ring, and the third ring. And out of a freak accident, the mice got all blinded. After the anarchy, the trio was never the same. The wire that broke snapped and hit Sat on the face. The plank dropped on its edge, landing on Chit's eyes. And obviously, the two tigers punctured Ananda's eyes. It was a freak accident like no other. Eventually, the trio returned to the circus, but still maintaining, I am the truth, I am consciousness, I am bliss. They have a lot of followers, and all of them are blind. Despite all the madness and empowered by the captured audience, mistaking the three-ring circus as the truth, the circus comes back over and over again to a captivated blind audience. The end. So what's being expressed here is there's no truth, that everything is just a story, that usually the truth blinds the seeker into believing that there is something that they are not seeing. What's actually happening is blind leading the blind. The blind leading the captivated audience into thinking that they are missing something, that they're missing truth, they're missing consciousness, they're missing bliss. When I wrote this apparent story, it was kind of funny because I used to have that trio, Sat, Chit, Ananda, as my belief system, as a character, as a seeker. I had to maintain that. It felt like a circus act. It felt like a show, this maintenance of something that was achieved, but it was just performative. What's being expressed here is that when it's seen that there is no such thing as a location, an attainment, a conclusion, an attainment, it's just blindness. So seeking is blindness when the seeker can already see that there's nothing to be seen. Everything is already exposed as they are. So the belief usually blinds the audience and thinking that there's something that they are not seeing, that they are missing. And then usually people on a pedestal are on a circus, on a three-ring circus. And it's just, and I bought that for a while as a seeker. I bought that. And this is a cautionary tale of something that is not really, whatever appears in a dream, as I mentioned in the other talk, is a dream. Whatever appears in the illusion is just an illusion. So if there's an illusion of seeing something beyond or seeing something that is, or attaining something, it's just another narrative. Because what's being seen are just different dream characters, but they're still in a dream. There's no one out there. There's no one out there that has attained anything. There's no one out there that has superiority. Because again, everything in the dream, when it collapses, when there's awakeness, it's just seen as unreal. Although it may seem real, you might be captivated or you might be engaged in the storytelling of apparent characters about their attainment, about permanence, and all that kind of stuff. None of it is real. So it's a blind leading the blind. And there's nothing that can be attained because everything is a story, everything is a fairy tale. And even the happily ever after is just another story because there's no after, there's no before, there's no after. It's just this. So what's being presented here, the simplicity, doesn't need any kind of understanding, doesn't need kind of a wowness or kind of like something that I have to have, because what's being seen is just a show. It's like watching Superman fly on a screen and wishing that you can fly. It's fiction. Watching the Avengers, all of their superhero powers, is just a story. There's no such thing. And what's and when I was writing this book, the story came after the other. This is actually the origin story of blindness, because there was this I have this story called The Confession of a Blind Mouse, that he's actually not blind, he also can't see, but he doesn't know what it is. So seeking, sometimes there's an appearance of blindness or suffering, or there's an appearance of wanting to see beyond the suffering, when what's being expressed here is there's no such thing as blindness or seeing. Both are illusion. There's no such thing as suffering or liberation. They're just identities, they're just ideas. So what's being expressed here, that all of this is just unconditional freedom, the freedom of storytelling, the freedom of fairy tales, the freedom of others seemingly appearing as real. And since this is just this unconditionality, nothing is wrong or right about that. It's just a story. But sometimes the belief blinds us. There's no us. The belief sometimes puts a show or a spectacle before us, thinking that there is something that is more than this. There's something that I am missing. There's something that they have achieved that I've not achieved. And I used to have a list of the top 10, spiritual enlightened beings. I'm not going to release who they are. It's really not relevant or necessary at all. But now they're seen as just characters in a fairy tale book, and as something that is longed for, something that wants to be achieved, but there's no reality to it. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just a story. So this is like a whistleblowing of some sort, that there's nothing needed. That stories are just stories. Even a story of attainment is just another story. And there's nothing needed. As mentioned in the earlier session, everything is already this. And this is it. Or it is this. It is this already. So there's nothing outside of this. So when there's a promised land or a promised attainment or a promise, it's just a dangling carrot. When everything is already appearing as this, when everything is nothing has ever been hidden, nothing has ever been suppressed, nothing needs to be realized, because everything is already appearing as this. If you have any questions, if you guys want to, I'll probably read more tomorrow, maybe one more tale or something from the. It's a collection of stories, kind of like the Grimm's fairy tale. There's no lessons to be learned. Non-duality twist that nothing is needed. Oh, thank you, Patrice. Hi, Emerson. Was that a collection, one of the collection of the stories from your book? Actually, you know what? I forgot to get my iPad, because I usually write on my iPad when I'm outside. So I'm just recollecting that from memory. It's just like a little kind of like a Yeah, it's just a really simple story about blindness. Hey, Kathy.
You get that hand so fast. Oh my God. I don't even know I put it up there. But yeah, we're all blind. But there's a guy, I don't have the book right now, but it's really big. It's a real thick book.
The
And
Bible?
he I'll tell you the name, but he evaluates every single spiritual person. You know who I'm talking about? And he gives them a quotient, a number on this
Oh,
scale.
yeah.
It's just wild. I mean, I'm just trying to think if Tony Parsons.
I used to do that too. There's this Richard Dawkins. It's a level of enlightenment or something, you know, like this person
is that who it was? Is that who it is?
I'm
It's
not,
really
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, there's this level of enlightenment. There's also a measurement called the color, like you're a teal or an orange or something like that, which is just another kind of like it's just everything again that's dreamed up in this dream, in this story. Is just all illusion of separation. It's just this reinforcement that there is someone higher and there's someone lower, and it's just this maintenance of a story, maintaining that it's real by making others real. Because sometimes, and this is kind of like the pitfall usually when there's a glimpse, it is sometimes recognized, although no one recognizes it, that there is no one there. You know, there's this kind of like openness or something. But the moment that they think of others, they believe that the others are real, meanwhile maintaining that there's no one here, but they think that there are others. So they still get a little bit there's the comparative. So comparison is just another dualistic. Again, it's a story again, maintaining others. So for example, there's this singular perception. So whatever it perceives, others, you know, others is that singular perception. And that singular perception is not even real. So there's not even a singular perception. The singular perception is, for example, this Kathy's perception. Kathy's looking at 30 different screens here. Kathy thinks that they're all real. So the moment that Kathy wakes up from that dream, although there's no Kathy and there's no dream, there's an awakeness that happens. Everything that Kathy talked to or perceived as others completely vanishes. So that's when there was this Emerson that was seemingly kind of like, you know, had an episode or an awakening or something. It saw everything as oneness, you know, it saw everything as God, basically. But for some odd reason, it did not notice that what was seen was also an illusion. So it it still believed in others. It still believed that it can help others. It still believed that it can be of service to others. Does that make any sense? Yeah.
Well, it's the illusion.
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
what is seen here apparently is that this is seeing all emptiness. This is just emptiness talking back to emptiness. Emptiness raising her hand, emptiness nodding, emptiness in the car.
Yeah.
And that's hard to perceive. It's not about perception. It's not even about knowing it.
You
It's
know, when
just
I
the
had
abs. Yeah, sorry.
when I had the glimpse, I it was the scariest thing because I was driving the car
Yeah. Oh.
and it
But you know
wasn't a
what?
Tesla. Yeah, it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't funny. Wasn't pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard there was one person, I think I told this story a couple times already, that listens to my YouTube videos while driving. So this person prepared like maybe about a few hours of my videos in a playlist. And then um basically this person had a long drive back or something. And then I got a call and basically said, I don't know how I got home. I don't know. Got really, really freaked out because it blacked out the whole drive. And basically saw
No,
that there was food. It
it
wasn't like
wasn't
that.
even that.
Oh,
No,
okay, okay.
it wasn't even that. It was, I was driving along this road that I'm always, I drove along a lot. And
Okay.
I just looked down. There was nobody in the driver's seat. It was
Yeah.
empty.
It's empty, yeah.
And the visual, it was like by a channel of water. And
Mm,
there were houses always there because I know they were, because like I said, so there's houses, and in between the houses you could see the water,
mm.
but all the houses were gone, and it was just water
Oh,
and the
wow.
sun setting. Yeah, and I never told anybody ever.
Wow.
Never told anybody because, well, I told my sister because I figured she wouldn't tell anybody. And I didn't want anybody to think I was crazy. And, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they could say she's not well and like she needs to be on
Yeah.
medication or something. So I never told anybody. And yeah, it was like it really bothered me, but I just submerged it because who could you tell about it? Nobody. And this message wasn't around, or I didn't know what this message, whatever. And every time I try to Google something to find out, like a ghost story would come up to find out what happened. So, so
Or
I
a near death experience or something like one of those NDE
it was just,
paranormal stuff.
yeah, it was like all paranormal stuff came up. So, I just like submerged it. Then I got a headache after it happened. So, I mean, I was just crying and crying, and I got a really bad headache. So then I looked because, before you get a migraine, there's something called an aura
Mm.
where everything can break up. You see like a kaleidoscope before you go into the headache. I hadn't had a headache though in a long time like that. So I did get a headache, and then I found that one Google site said, oh yeah, an aura could be partial blindness.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But there was just nobody here. There was just
Yeah.
nobody driving the car down the
Yeah.
road. And the car didn't crash, you
Yeah.
know? The car should have crashed if there was nobody in it.
It was like a blackout, wasn't it?
No, what I mean, just, no, it wasn't a Tesla. There was nobody behind the wheel. The car was just going down the road till somehow it got pulled over.
Yeah.
It pulled itself over somehow.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like that's, otherwise I would never listen to this message. It doesn't make any sense to
It
me
doesn't.
at all. It just doesn't. And then I kept thinking, why did that have to happen like that? What was that all about? It just was. So that's how I started listening to all these people, non-dual and all this stuff. It was a long time ago.
That's fascinating though. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Well, I guess I got my answer, huh?
Yeah. Everything is just a story, including everything that appears in a story is a story. And sometimes there's a maintenance that it's like an unusual paranormal story, but everything that appears in the dream is a dream. And what's just being expressed that there is no one. The clarity from that one that there's never anyone doing anything. So
Yeah.
there was a glimpse that the Kathy bleeped out. It got bleeped out, you know what I'm saying? Got deleted for a moment. Well, the appearance of deletion, but because it's never there. So it's like when somebody is doing yard work, you know, my brother was doing yard work and there's no one doing that. Especially if they enjoy, you know what I'm saying, the work. Like for example, I enjoy running and walking and listening to music and playing piano. It's always that there's no one there. There's just this aliveness seemingly happening. Or, you know, the Kathy character usually appears in appearances, but it's not there permanently. It's not there constantly. It disappears completely in sleep. It appears maybe in a nighttime dream, and then it completely disappears again when there's an awakeness, and it comes back again, thinking, what should I have for breakfast? And then all of a sudden it disappears again, you know, maybe doing some yard work or, you know, reading a book or watching a movie or daydreaming, and then it just goes in and out. So when it's seen, you know what I'm saying, when it's seen that it's not permanent, meaning that it's not quite there, it's not really there, then it can be a freaky kind of like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got over it.
Okay.
It's funny. Last year, one time you had a Friday Zoom, and I'll never forget this. So I went to the breakout room. I was thinking about this, and like this woman says to me, I don't even remember her name. She was very nice lady. I liked her, but she was like, you know, like, what happened to you? You know, like. And I said it was like, you know, you ever see those movies where the guy gets put into jail and there's another guy in the cell and he's like, what are you in for? That was the first time I was able to tell the story. You said it again before, because it just, I said, you know, that's, people get put away for saying shit like that. I was driving the car. Nobody was driving. It wasn't a Tesla. So yeah, anyway, that was funny, that lady. Yeah.
It's so funny because I never really shared my story with my family with how I got into spirituality, but it's almost like, how did you get in jail? Because that became my person was spirituality. How did you?
Who said
How did
that?
you? Well, but
How'd you get in
I'm
jail?
just well, spirituality, and you know the way that this expresses the story, spirituality was like a big jail. Like I thought that I got out of religion, but I just landed in a spiritual jail. Especially being a teacher, it's quite an
Yeah, well, being
imprisonment.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Your situation is different. So, you know, that's why, yeah, I feel like sometimes I can't, whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It's just, it doesn't matter anyway. But yeah, it was always that kind of feeling about watch what you say. Now, I mean, I don't know, you know,
Well, thank.
you know, seriously,
Yeah.
you don't know who's got the handcuffs. I'm only kidding, not really though. No, that's why I can, I'm taking up all this time. I don't know. It said I can really respect all these people that come to your channel and, you know, talk about stuff, and they're young people. And I think, wow, you know, they just right out there, they're saying it straight up, and they don't give a crap who's listening. And it's like so really authentic or something. I don't know. I just, because if I were around in society right now, I would never say anything like this. Never. I wouldn't tell anybody, even my closest relatives, I wouldn't say that to. They would just be like, what happened to her? She needs
Apparently.
medicine. She needs medicine. So that's why I really respect these people that come onto your channel and talk
Well,
like
thank
that.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Lauren, sorry. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Hello.
I really liked your story.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Um, that's very bold.
That's what I was kind of funny because when I was creating these children's stories, I wanted it to be similar to the way that I speak,
Yeah. Yep.
not compromising. You know what I'm saying? It's still uncompromising, but in a children's tale. Not a lot of people will like it apparently in the story.
Is it going to be animated?
It's going to be an illustration. It's an illustrated book. So it's a series of, I have about 20 stories right now of children's stories. It's a children's story for grown-ups with a non-duality twist. Kind of like that one. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I do feel somewhat played by the seeking industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
also realize that's just what happens, and it's fine, you know?
It is. It is. It is. There's this yeah, there's this seeking industry, and there's a lot of gullible seeking that's happening. There seems to be this is kind of like an anti kind of like, this communication is almost like a whistleblowing, that there's nothing that's needed, and then it doesn't really hold any of the seekers hostage. It actually tells them that they're not really here. They're not really seeking, that this is not really happening. And I was just thinking about this. This is not a sustainable kind of like thing, because half of the people that goes to these meetings will not come back, or maybe, or they'll come back and it's just for entertainment. There's no more seeking energy,
Yeah.
because it's because there's a yeah, it's
Horrible business plan.
it
Yeah.
is it is it is. I might have to go back on a part-time DJ. I do DJing, but part-time job again soon, to be honest.
Well, I came in through AA ultimately. Like I never
Yeah.
had it spiritual. And then and then that kind of I didn't really identify it as seeking at first. It seemed just like a problem,
Yeah.
oh, I have a problem.
Yeah.
And but the reason I raised that is because while it's all the illusion and nothing is happening and what is can't be said and all these grand mysterious features of the featureless, I still find personally, or in the apparent day-to-day life, which for me is still something I try to manage, that integrity and acting with compassion
Yes.
is like, I almost want to say effective, more effective than being an asshole.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It
totally.
doesn't mean that I feel that I would need to go and confess if I was an asshole, but it's like
Yeah.
it seems like there is, when we look at things like math, and there seems to be a morality, and I definitely recognize that this whole concept or whatever of me, like earlier when you were talking about the just using words to describe what is obvious to you, or to that over there, that
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to be true to your
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
all right. There was the one thing that was hanging on was that, oh yeah, like I could just appreciate all of this, whatever the hell it is, and drop into that, so to speak. But then there was this sense of, I was afraid to be a failure, that, well, I haven't done anything creative. I haven't like
Yeah.
self-realized.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like there it is. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw these things out
Yeah,
there.
when it's seen that there are no others, there's no failures and there's no successes because there's no comparison. It is what it is. So there's this illusory, yardstick of people that have made it, or apparent characters that have self-realized. That's what I was trying to expose. It's blindness. So it's the belief in others is also blinding. The belief in concepts, or the belief, any belief system, is blindness. And usually the big one, the big kind of like stick that the dog holds onto, is the belief in a source, the belief in a higher self, the belief in spirit, all of this belief. But the other one that's really tricky is kind of like what you're mentioning right now, is the comparison, the belief that there's others to compare to. So when it's seen that it is what it is, no matter what it has seemingly went through, none of that went through anyway. It's just seen as this. Finally, there's this, and there's just this contentment because there's no more comparing. Or even when there's comparison, it appears and disappears.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's really no hierarchy. So usually a feeling of failure or success is based on what others, the imaginary others,
Yeah.
have achieved or not achieved, or what you have achieved or not achieved. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what's appearing. It's this persistent illusion that there is reality. Even if the reality here is shaky or kind of like, or transparent, it's not there anymore. The persistent illusion will maintain itself by making others relevant.
Right. Yes.
Like, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So when it's seen that everything in the dream characters, better dream characters, enlightened dream characters, leaders in dream characters are all dream characters, meaning that, like that, in a snap, in a boom, they don't exist. Or when you go to sleep at night, they don't matter in deep sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, what am I doing with my life? And then you start comparing, others and everything.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a maintenance. So as I said, the story will maintain itself by maintaining other stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the stories of others, the stories of separation, the stories of attainment, the stories of anything, every single story is a divisive story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The strongest story is, if I don't keep it under control,
Yeah.
I will,
Yeah.
there'll be something horrible that will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's just a story because that seems to appear in the future.
Yeah.
Isn't this in control?
Yeah.
Well, there's no one in control. So there's no one controlling.
I'm not so sure, Emerson. I don't know.
So control is just another idea. It's just another dream idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just another belief that, this is in control.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in control. Yeah.
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 And there's nobody at this meeting.
No. In the story, there are 30 plus people here, but that's just a story. So the story maintains the story of separation by maintaining the reality of separation through stories.
Mm-hmm.
There's others, there's me, there's whatever.
Yeah.
But this illusion is very fragile, right? But it's perfect as well. When you blink your eyes, they disappear, but you don't even notice your eyes blinking in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meaning they're just thoughts. Others are thoughts. This meeting is a thought. Success is a thought. Control is a thought. They're just words that are meaningless that is appearing as thoughts, ideas that are empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Cirque du Soleil with,
I love Cirque du Soleil.
it was amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
My atheist family. And like, they believe in anything. They believe in Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
So we were like, it was amazing. And it was the best day. But that morning, I definitely spent 2 hours in my like spiritual routine
Yeah.
trying to bring Chit
Balance and
Ananda,
yeah.
into into my
Yeah.
energy field so that I could show up and, you know, help to dissolve the
Yeah.
ancestral trauma that causes the dysfunction in my
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And
So you
it's
can be the being, you know, the conscious being of bliss.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just radiate bliss.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because it resonates so much with the story of, like, to be honest, I enjoyed Cirque du Soleil a lot more than sitting on the cushion.
Of course.
Yeah. But you know, it's just fear of what if I let go of my practices and then end up becoming, you know, some kind of failure.
Yeah. And this is just a story. When I used to do my 4-hour practice, it was my practice in blindness. I refused to see. So I go inward
Yeah.
and look for that bliss that's inside. But that's another creation. That's another illusion, because again, everything in the dream, the illusion is just, it's just everything that is done is a dream action. Every illusory action just basically produces just an illusion. So it's an illusory inside. It's an illusory peace. It's an illusory bliss, and it's illusory truth. It's an illusory belief system. So it maintains that belief system, and it creates this blindness. And it, rather than walking in paradise, it goes inward to look for an imaginary bliss. It looks for permanence when nothing is permanent.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's as if things don't just pass through me, though.
What's that?
It's as if things don't just pass through, like you said.
But that's just another belief system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Ugh,
I thought you would catch that.
no.
Yeah. That's just another belief system. That's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's just a perception of what seems to be appearing that, you know.
Mhm.
Because I used to have this set stories about myself, kind of like the unquestionable part of Emerson, you know, like, you know, Emerson is a being, Emerson is, you know, all this stuff, and is a part of the soul, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, kind of like so I was blind, and the blindness that I was doing, I was teaching to others. Basically, I'm saying that I've seen the truth. I've seen consciousness. I have seen it. And I'll teach you how to see it by closing your eyes and going inward.
Yeah.
And if you focus long enough, you know, you'll see what I'm seeing. Isn't it sound so ridiculous, you know, saying when you say it in a children's story, but
Yeah.
it's somehow it's taken seriously when it's kind of like, you know, when it's taught by teachers.
Mhm.
But from a kid's perspective, from a kid's eyes, that's silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you see with the eyes closed? Meaning that how can you see with avoidance and repression?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It led to me then feeling like I lost it all the time.
Yeah.
So,
I went blind. How can I see again? You
yeah.
were never blind.
The pain body is back.
That's another story. See,
Yeah.
I have another story called The Great Elephant.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, and the great elephant that everyone seems to see, you know, but no one has ever seen it. But people pretend that they're like, yeah, I've seen a great elephant. Yeah, it took me 4 hours, but I've seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
It might be a really controversial book then, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But it's a kid's book, so.
It's the there's nothing to do to release beliefs. You just
No, because there's no beliefs to be released. They're all illusion.
right.
Yeah. It's like it's already seen that it's nothing. So, releasing it is like, or focusing on it is kind of like going blind to see. Go blind with me. That's what teaching is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go into blindness so you can see. But I'm not blind, but you are. That's what the teacher would say. It is intoxicating to all of these concepts and ideas about attainment, about, Satchitananda and all that kind of stuff. It's very, when I used to kind of like you, saying, let me get into that Satchitananda, let me get into that state of Satchitananda. I had it before, but I can't believe, yeah. So it believes in this fairy tales. It's Satchitananda basically is the happily ever after. It's a fairy tale.
Thank you for the chat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Lauren. Oh, there's Karen goes, thank you so much. Great story. Thank you. Nick goes, David Hawkins. Yes, David Hawkins was I was so into that early this year and all completely dropped when this was heard. I believe I was somewhere at the level 400 or 500. I don't really remember what the levels are. Do you remember all the levels from the David Hawkins? Again, all of this is just a story. Again, the story is to maintain of others, the maintenance of levels is to maintain separation. And separation, of course, is just, what's that?
Hi, Emerson. Hi, I have no camera. It's too dark in here.
No worries. Hi, Nick.
Hi, 500 love, 600 peace. And then from 700 to 1,000 is enlightenment, different levels.
Oh, wow. You were almost there. Why did you give it up?
Yeah. I thought I had reached some peaks, some peak moments.
Yeah.
I was totally into it, and then it completely dropped. Like
what a fascinating fictional assessment,
Absolutely.
though, right? It's really fascinating because it gets you caught up in that attainment, and it's just a belief again. It's just another belief system that there is some levels that I am here and I can work on. I'm in love right now. I'll be peace. I'll be enlightened soon.
Totally.
It's like a ladder of enlightenment. And all of a sudden, that's what I think I used that book to at one point where I can't remember the book what was called, but he had like many volumes of book and I had all of them. Remember those books? There were like 4 volumes from David Hawkins. He had a lot of book about consciousness. And
I think I know what you mean. He wrote a lot of books, and it was actually a really nice guy. I think he was really thinking. He was doing genuine stuff. Like, it was a really funny guy. It's really nice to see those lectures of him. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, I was really into that. And then there's the I think the spiral level or something. There were some spiral levels of someone was asking me, what are you a teal or an orange? It's supposed to be colors now.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. And like the average human consciousness, like reached the point above pride 200, I think.
Yeah.
So there was this main switch in consciousness. This big change was happening apparently right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there's this and also there's this collective awakening.
Yeah, totally.
There's this collective awakening that people that were in level 500 would go to level enlightenment, because there's a collective thing that's happening.
Do you know how you could measure your level of consciousness, like with your arm?
Oh,
you know that? Like the you have to see it, but it's like
It's
like
ridiculous.
how something vibrates. Like, for example,
Yeah.
you could vibrate like the news or
Yeah.
the table or whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, you know, with the when there is a maintenance of the story, all sorts of stories come out to maintain the story of what is real and what is not. So for example, someone will maintain that, oh, to be enlightened, you have to have this or that. You have to pass this and that, you know. But again, enlightenment is just a story in the dream.
Yeah.
So it'll be a dream enlightenment. So there's this dream, and it's so or for example, you know what, it has to be this or that, but there's no such thing, because everything in the dream is a dream. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. But it's really attractive because, you know what, there's seemingly a trajectory of characters of trying to achieve this, trying to achieve that, trying to get there. I want what you have. I want your happiness. But the plot twist is that there are no others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, being in a dream at night and comparing everything that you dreamed about. And then when you wake up, you're like, okay, I'm going to be like that dream character. It's not real. None of this is real. And that's what's being expressed here. That levels, you know, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
It's
ridiculous.
crazy how compelling it is, and how convinced. Like, it was maybe only 7-8 months ago. I was sharing the things on. There's nothing wrong or right with it, but I was sharing those things on Instagram. I was like really into it. People talking about David Hawkins also.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of talk around currently. So
again, any story is just to maintain that your story is real.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a level, then you must be real. Then,
mm-hmm.
if there is other levels that you need to achieve, then there is a reality to it. So what's being expressed here is there's no such thing as reality, because what's perceived is this apparent reality, but none of this is real.
There's also this guy currently on this, like he's pretty, I don't know, kind of big on Instagram.
Yeah.
But he like measures the soul width or the soul of someone, and then like can give it like a number on the scale of David Hawkins. You know, that's crazy. So he's like, just for example, Queen Elizabeth, and then like there comes a number out, and then like a whole description with that. It's like crazy funny.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying in there. You know what? I have a an edited version of that story about the three blind mice. Kind of like the three blind mice. The first one is truth, sat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing. It's just another kind of like another fictional character trying to maintain truth by saying that I have the truth. I have something. I got something. So this apparent appearance is going to have, you know, truth holders or truth, you know, someone that has found the truth. But in a dream, there's no truth and there's no untruth. It's all a dream. In the dream, there's no real and there's no unreal. It's all a dream. In the dream, there's no measurement because there's no measurement. It's immeasurable. It's a dream. It's not real. How can you? How can the unreal be measured?
Mm-hmm.
But in the dream that feels everything feels real, it's going to be really compelling. It's going to be really believable when somebody says, "I got it." But the trick of this is it's not when they say that they have it. It's a dangling carrot. You can have it, but you have to do this and that to be able to go to level 600, level 700, level 1000. This is what you have to do. And that's the way that the story goes. There's a beginning and there's an end. But beginning and ending are all illusory. There's no beginning or ending because all that there is this and there's nothing outside of this. So in this, what appears is the beginning and ending. But as you notice, beginning and ending are just words. They're neither real or non-real. It's just a dream. So all of this is just dream speak.
Yeah, totally. I was always very much about what is the truth? What is the truth in this moment? What is my truth in this moment?
Yeah.
Like, am I acting out of my truth
Yeah.
/ love, or am I acting out of fear? And then that was like a total, a complete total loop, you know, like because the next moment will be a fearful moment. The next moment will be a very truthful moment. You know, it's
Yeah.
like an endless loop of spirit. This was kind of like the spiritual path here.
Yeah.
Being truthful in the moment, like being honest to yourself, blah blah blah.
Yeah, finding the
But actually,
absolute.
what Lawrence said, I do agree with. Like, it's probably more helpful than being an asshole. Like living like your
Yeah.
truth, for whatever it means.
Well, you know what? Let's just have a lot of you know, when I was a spiritual teacher, I had this image of this compassionate, you know, person that helped others, but I really felt like an asshole. I was an asshole because I was maintaining the illusion that I got it, that I have the truth. So I was being an asshole, really. And there was an abuse of power because, you know, I think that I have the truth and no one else. So I was above everyone else. So I was an asshole. So when this apparent Emerson, you know, collapsed, you know what I'm saying, was seen, it was just a dream. This character, although it seems like an asshole by saying stories about Ananda, is actually compassionate. It's a cause, it's whistleblowing.
But did you know back then that you were an asshole, that you were fooling?
Well, you know what?
Like...
That was what was eating me up, right? Because you know what? Coming into it, I was being earnest. There was this earnestness, and I'm being honest, there was this earnest characters that really want to help others. But when it saw that this is all an illusion, this is, you know, it kind of like when none of the meditation, none of the going inward, none of the practices was working, when I started partying and all that kind of stuff, when it was just a mess of a character, rather than, you know what, actually I did say that, though, you know what, that I'm a fraud, but the character was falling apart. Rather than staying silent, you know, I kept on teaching, kept on teaching, kept on teaching, right? Even though kind of like what I saw was just a glimpse or an awakening experience, and then it just maintained that awakening experience, and there's a whole bunch of followers that looks up to you, that you have the truth, that some of them even look at you as a supreme being, that you are in the 100,000 status of enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
And they were never corrected, although it was seen here that you know that it was all bullshit. There was a time that I never corrected until I couldn't do it anymore, until I couldn't say, well, it's all bullshit, really.
I can imagine that when you are a spiritual teacher, like for example, I remember you saying like what you did on a different job in Canada, like with so I remember something like that. But I can imagine that, like, being a spiritual, like that's too close to the fire, you know. You're trying to know, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, totally.
Like when you do like a job, for example, in marketing, it's like it has nothing to do with like the whole being like a whole spiritual thought, even though you know that it's also an illusion. It's probably different, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, you know, there was this you know, there was a reluctance to be a speaker, because I already went down that road, you know what I'm saying, and there's really nothing that's needed. Everything is already as it is. Everything is already as it is, but somehow, and it's just kind of like an apparent proof that there's no one choosing to do any of this, that this apparent character is speaking about nothing. But at this time, there's a clarity that it's really nothing. It's about nothing. It's not maintaining a story or facade that you will get something, because there's no you to get anything. So what usually happens when when this is heard, that there's nothing that needs to be achieved. It's already done. It's always this. I say the same thing over and over again, that there is nothing needed. There's always this. This is all emptiness. It's so simple. It's so obvious. So when it's seen that it's obvious and simple, that there's nothing needed, that everything is already done, whatever it is what it is. It's always empty. Then there is a seeming retirement of that seeking energy. There's a seeming saying that, well, there's nothing to get anyway. So there's clarity. It's not a further delusion that there's going to be an eternal bliss or eternity or whatever. Those are just ideas. So what's being expressed here is just the naturalness, the apparent falling away of that neurotic seeking energy, and seeing just this apparent happening is already wow, whatever it is. So it doesn't need to maintain the Sat Chit Ananda. It doesn't need to maintain a narrative of what should be, when what is always this. What seems to be longed for appears in everything. Everything is silent, everything is absent. And the ordinariness of this, like walking down in the rain, walking down and watching the sunrise, sunset, is wondrous because it's not caught up in seeking what should be or what's next or what will become when I don't have this anymore. So it's not, again, it's a loss of that seeking, that neurotic wanting, neurotic desiring of something other than this. Kind of like a sobriety.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Couple of questions here. Jan goes to seeking industrial complex. Yes. Hi, Emerson. Can you speak of death or the absence of death? I would think that without the body, there would be no appearance of life anymore, like seeing, hearing, etc. So everything that is appearing in this talk, since we open up with that wonderful tale of story about the three blind mice, is just blindness, thinking that we know something, we understand something, or we don't understand something. So what is being expressed is that everything that has been ever said is appearing as this. So this is death. And since there's no one here, no one dies. Since there's no time, death is an illusion. Since there is no death, there is no body. You can also say that this is life and death appearing at the same time. This is aliveness and voidness or nothingness appearing simultaneously. But that's just another idea. That's just another illusion. You can also say that this is blindness and vision appearing at the same time. So when it's seen that there is no one here, the absence of someone, the absence of the character, there's no longer an idea of what death is. When it's seen that there is just this unknowability, everything is just this unknowable mystery, there's no more problem solver because there's no more problem. What seems to appear is just always as this, and there's nothing outside of this. Dying in 6 months, this is from Kane. Dying in 6 months or in 50 years is the same because time is an illusion. There's no 6 months and there's no 50 years. So if you notice 6 months, the idea is just appearing in this. 50 years is also appearing in this. So 6 years or 50 years are measurement of trying to measure this. So any measurement of this is just another illusion. And yes, time is an illusion, but a very persistent one. have you seen Jeffrey Dahmer's documentary? What's your thoughts on him? No thoughts on him really. It's just another illusory character. It's just a Netflix show. Oh, thank you, Bobby. Hi, Emerson. I love your Chit Ananda story. It's very cheeky. Are you planning to release this video? I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll save it for the book. Thank you, though. Thank you. Can you speak about winning and losing being the same thing, like winning millions and losing millions? I'll use the dream analogy. Whatever is won in the dream, the moment that you wake up, it's seen as nothing really happened. Since everything is a dream, you could lose, you could win, but it's just the same thing. There's really nothing happening. It might be a nice dream if you win. It might be a sad dream if you lose, but it's still a dream. So sad and happy, winning, losing, it's the same thing, and nothing is permanent. It's just a dream. So no one's really losing, no one's really winning. It's just a happening. When I was really depressed, I did have this dream when I was seeking, and I would dream that I would win, like a $10 million, and I would wake up, and it would be really disappointing when my pockets are empty and there's nothing in my bank account. But that's just a story as well. Are there apparent dimensions, or is it more like so what? So all that there is this. So apparent dimensions also appear as this. Meaning it's just a story in this. Everything is a story in this. It's kind of like there's no higher dream or lower dream. It's all a dream. There's no different dimension dream. It's all a dream. So yeah, so more like a so what. And it's just this. It's just there's nothing outside of this. Hey, Kathy.
Oh, come on now. I didn't put the hand up. I didn't put it up.
I have special abilities to think before you. I'm just joking.
Oh, because you saw my hand going out. Anyway, I hope Lauren doesn't mind me saying this, but I always thought like, geez, when she said her parents were atheists, I always thought like, part of my continual, how I went from whatever teacher to teacher, how you know, once, you know, it was because there was such a heavy indoctrination or whatever with God and purpose. And, you know, so just because I became disillusioned with the Catholic faith, you know, there had to be something else. So, you know, you go across the path or whatever you want to call it over and over and over again. Try that, try this. And I always wondered, like, gee, what if I had been born into a family of atheists and they just would have been like, you know, maybe they believed in science, let's preserve the planet. I don't know. I'm not asking her to tell me about her parents, but you know, I think that's what happened. I think it's like, you know, I was so heavily indoctrinated with priests and nuns and the religion, and even like the family members, you know, still their kids, their grandkids, everybody, you know, there's not, you would never even question that, is there a God? And so, you know, it's just like, it was just like the natural inclination to keep looking for him or her. It's just natural, you know, just like probably with you too. I know you were raised in the Catholic faith and you did all the rituals and everything. And then, you know, if you become disillusioned with that, you go on to another, you know, you find another spiritual life. And I just thought, wow, if it was atheism, maybe I would have liked to be a scientist. I don't know. I don't know. Just, it was just kind of interesting to hear that. Thanks, Lauren.
Well, there's nothing really any different from being an atheist and being a Catholic. It's the same story. It appears in the dream, and none of that really even happened. It's just a story appearing as something that apparently happened for real. For example, what's seen here when it's kind of funny because my niece is going through her confirmation and she asked me to be her godfather. And I don't even remember what confirmation is, but it is what it is. It's just a dream. So non-duality, Catholicism, atheism is just in the dream. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It's all a story. So there's nothing better and there's nothing worse. It's just a story. It may seemingly appear as something better, but that's just a story as well, because better and worse are stories as well. So everything in the story is a story, including this or that. That's a story. You and I is a story. Better or worse is a story. Atheism, Catholicism is a story. So everything is a story. And it just maintains the story. See what just happened there, Kathy? It's like, what if I was an atheist? I would have had a better story. But it's just a maintenance of the story as well.
Not necessarily better, but it would have been different.
Yeah, but it's
Probably.
still a story. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It's so you're going to sponsor your niece?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pray for you. I'll pray for her.
It's going to be hilarious.
No, you'll be good at it. Be good at it. I have trust. Oh my goodness.
It's just a play. It's just a play. question here. If you were teaching in schools like religion or history, would it be hard to continue as the dream collapses? If you were teaching in schools like religion or history, would it be hard to continue? Oh, okay. It's just what's happening. It doesn't really matter if you were teaching or not teaching religion or history. Everything is a story, including teaching religion or history. There's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what's happening. I just got a new mattress delivered today and lying on it feels like heaven. Must be I died. Hey, Vera. Happy at last. So what? Good to see you, Vera.
Thank you, Emerson. Good to see everybody. And
Hi, Vera.
hi there,
Hello.
Emerson.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
So, yeah, good. I'm happy at last.
Yes.
It's the mattress. I found the secret to happiness.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
You have to find your particular secret.
Yes.
So, since everything is a dream and doesn't really exist, if we believe we can make it whatever we want, we can just do that. If we think we can create anything we want, make anything happen or mostly happen,
well,
anything is possible.
Anything
in this
is
dream.
possible, but there's no one controlling it. Like a nighttime dream, it just happens. Whatever happens just happens, and it's just there's an illusion of us creating our dreams and everything, but there's no us that creates the dream. The dream just happens by itself. Yeah.
That could be. That's that's a good theory too.
Yeah.
But we could also have the theory that we're doing it. It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Doing or not doing it is both
doing or not doing. It's all a story.
It's all a story. Yeah.
So you could just engage in whatever you want.
That's right. You can engage, disengage. It doesn't really matter. You can drive, pretend, you can let go of the wheels. It doesn't really matter. Right. It is what it is, no matter what it is. Right. So it could be pretending to, step on the brakes or not stepping on the brakes. It could be turning left or not turning left. It's just what it is, because there's no one doing any of it. There's an illusion that you're doing it, but there's just this apparent absence of a doer or a non-doer. It's just whatever it is. It is. Yeah.
So you could play whatever. You could play doer, non-doer.
Yeah.
Existing.
But there's no one playing at the same time.
And there's no play. So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Have fun. Have as much fun as you can.
Yeah.
Discover and do not discover. Do whatever you want.
When the neurotic seeking energy kind of like spirals, like when it's unspooled, right? When it's not tangled anymore, there's this looseness. There's this kind of like a retired from that of looking for something, because there's nothing that needs to be found. So it does whatever it pleases, right? So it could go dancing, it could go eat cinnamon rolls, it could go walking, it could speak about this or not speak about this. It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
It's like a totally unending, expansive, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever, yeah. Apparently. Yeah, so whatever it is, it is, right? So it could be just someone just decides to ride a bike, all over the world.
Right.
Someone just decides to speak about, I don't know, spiders, or decides just to, but there's this passion, you know what I'm saying, in what is, because it's no longer trying to avoid what is. So it becomes a passionate play. It's not a scary play anymore. It's not an uncertain play anymore, because it's just, there's nothing serious about it. It becomes a so whatness. So what?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what?
So what?
Right.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter is in Toronto right now with her two kids. Yeah, with the two grandkids and granddaughters. So they're floating around your neck of the woods, your neck of the dream here. They're here for a grief convention. She goes to these grief conventions.
Oh, wow. That sounds really heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
She goes because her ex died, I guess about 10, 12. So the father of the kids, yeah. He decided to crash his car and flip it over several times, and then let it land on top of him. So he had a very good imagination. He let it land on top of him so that he couldn't possibly survive, and got squished.
Wow.
He wanted to go, though. He expressed, that he had it. He was in his 30s. He had enough. And then what was funny is that the laptop flew out of the car, landed on the ground on this dirt road, and it was functional for years.
Oh, wow.
It didn't get messed up. So I thought that was funny. It's like, his body didn't make it, but the laptop made it.
The laptop made it, yeah.
Yeah, the laptop made it. So she does grief.
It's a very sad but also epic story, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a big story. People like the grief thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
how much I grieve is how much I love.
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same.
So if I have huge grief, I have huge love.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. It's just when there's fullness, right? It's just grieving, right? When I avoided, the character avoided death, ideas about death, was afraid of it, petrified of it, right? So I was afraid of my mom dying, and then when my grandparents passed away, I didn't know what to do, as a character, right? I just numb myself, because it was just something that is incomprehensible. The character likes holding on to, it's loyal to people and loves people, right? So it doesn't know what to do when someone dies. But what seemingly happened is, when my aunt passed away, there was just a flood of grief. When one of my best friends passed away, a flood. It was just this dam that was open, right? And there was no stopping the tears. It was just so deep, so heavy. It's like a really, and it's like a giant storm that appears. But when the giant storm,
how did it feel though? Let that go.
It's beautiful.
I know, isn't it great?
As deep as the grieving, as deep as the letting go. It's just this. It's almost like a really it doesn't have any depth. It's so deep that it's almost like you get lost in it, right? There's just this heaviness. And then when it seemingly appears, it's like this big contraction of something that cannot be contracted. And then when it disappears, there's just this boundlessness. It's almost embarrassing to say that you're happy. Because that's not the norm.
I know. How long did it take you after you were?
Sometimes a day, sometimes a couple days.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Like when my dog died, it was a couple days. When my son Miguel passed away, it was a lot of crying for a couple of days. And all of a sudden, when he was brought, when I got the the crematorium, the ashes, it was just this nothing. It was just this emptiness. This emptiness.
You reached emptiness.
Just always emptiness.
There's always emptiness. You became
always emptiness. Yeah. So even when that contraction is still emptiness, it's just appearing as this grieving. But the grieving is so empty that it's so massive. It's immeasurable.
Yeah.
That even the crying is not enough, right? Because it's like the chest, the crying is like, although there's no reason for it.
I don't know. It just happens, right? It just
Yeah,
happens.
it just happens. It's like when it just pours out. It just
Yeah,
pours out.
it's a great
There's no
feeling.
holding it back. It's no holding it back. And I don't know as the character did it before, because I used to avoid, like for example, when someone died, I would not go to funerals and everything because it didn't want to see that. Right?
Mm.
It went on it went on an escape route of not thinking about it.
Yeah, I think if you can
But it was more painful if you look at it, because it was like because the pain is there. It prolongs it seemingly in the story.
It may, yeah. But to be able to deeply cry and deeply laugh is like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like a total release. It's orgasmic, really.
It is, yeah. That's why it's embarrassing to laugh, after the cry. You're like, did I laugh?
But yeah, it's like the whole body.
It's like a release. It's like all the stories are released about whatever it is. It could be a story about, and it's just seen as empty stories. None of it is real. And everything that felt real is gone, is completely empty. It's like when you're dreaming at night and someone that you love dies in your dream at night, and you wake up and you're still crying.
I haven't had that yet, I think.
Oh, I've had that several times.
Wow.
I've had that. I would wake up with my pillowcase soaked in tears, right? And I would wake up and I'll be like, oh, there's a relief. But I can't explain the relief because, nothing really happened. So there's a relief in that one. But there's also this remnant of feeling of something real happened because you were crying. So
amazing.
It's similar as that, right? There's this crying because there's no control, like the lucidity of a dream when there's no one controlling it, right? Because it's a very seemingly, and again, there's really no difference. It's seemingly the nighttime dream seems to be just a flow, right? There's just a flow. So when death happens, when crying and grieving happens, it's just this crying, crying, kind of like crying when there's no others. And then when there's this wakeness, there's this, oh wow, nothing really happened. So no one really died because it was not there in the first place. It's so funny. We're talking about, children's books in the beginning, like The Blind Mice. And here we are talking about death for the past 3 questions.
It must be a fun topic.
It is. It is.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't done that crying at night in my nighttime dream.
I have a friend that described to me, and I really like this description. It's like when death happens, it's like the whole, painting is more beautiful because the darker shades are seen. So everything pops out. The shadows and the dark shades and everything makes the picture complete.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience. It releases my daytime dream for death. When it happens, like my whole body, whatever this is, looks like a body just breaks open.
Yes. Yes.
It like explodes.
Yes.
And it's like an amazing experience. Like there's no, like all the controls, all the holding is gone. Like
it's like black hole. It's like black hole sucked it in, it's like this, it's like all of this. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. There's this, and I used to, and I say this all the time, when I grew up with 3 younger brothers and I'm the eldest one. So I was trained by my dad, and this is just a story, not to cry, right? To be strong, despite whatever. Don't cry. My uncles, my dad, don't cry. Emerson, don't cry. Don't show your brothers cry. So I didn't know how to cry. So I didn't know how to, I would cry in the shower, but never really cried publicly. But seemingly now, like, show me a video of an animal and a dog and someone reuniting, or a young boy kind of like seeing a puppy for the first time. Waterworks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you guys are taught not to cry. I went to a crying workshop even one time.
Oh, wow.
Because so many people can't cry anymore.
Yeah.
So when I went to the workshop, it was men and women.
Oh, wow.
And nobody could cry. I was able to because I had done the crying relief thing for a while, like a relief thing. But it was amazing. They were learning how to cry.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So they actually have workshops for that.
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't
like you
need
would
it
be
anymore.
a professional. I know if you go there, you'll be like the king of the workshop. You'll be a big star. Look at this guy cry. It's like
Waterworks. Sometimes I just walking down, saying and seeing the sunrise, and it just waterworks, right? I'm like, oh man. There's no stopping, and there's no shame in it anymore, right?
That's great.
Shame is just a story. Yeah.
That's great. You're blessed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
I didn't need a workshop. Yeah.
You can show everybody else. They'll be so admiring of you. Especially since you're a guy, see a guy cry like that. That's exciting.
There's sobbing that happens. There's not just crying, sobbing sometimes too. It's like
the
full waterworks.
Right. How about screaming? I like that one too.
Not yet.
Me while I'm crying.
That's a PhD, right? That's a master's, you're crying.
I did that about 2 years ago when one of my friends died suddenly, all of a sudden, unexpectedly. And I was screaming, crying and screaming. I couldn't believe it. I said, wow.
It's funny in the Filipino culture, when there's death, there's 40 days that people really let out all of their grief. So they keep the body so people can publicly cry. So in a small town, when someone dies, everyone can hear the family crying. So they let it all out. They let it all out completely. And when I came to Canada, I came here when I was 14. There was just this odd thing. I'm like, why are people so silent in funerals? Why are people not crying? People cry and yell and say, why did you leave me? And some of them even jump, into the casket, right? It's just the emotions just are it's just expressed fully. And of course, at the same time, they gamble and drink the whole night, and then they do it again the next night. They cry, they drink, gamble, cry, 40 days until, what, and then they let their last cry at the, at the funeral and everything. But yeah. So it's odd in the West when grieving is so silent.
I know, so stoic and silent. It does seem weird.
Yeah.
I love just going into the casket, touching the body, throwing myself on the body, stroking it,
yeah,
trying to get it to resurrect. Come on, get up, get up. How come you're not getting up? I believe, I have faith.
Yeah. It's just let it, just doing the whole shebang, right? The whole play, the whole story. Why not? Who cares?
Why? Right. So what? Might as well.
Yeah.
We'll have to attend a funeral together.
Yes. We might get kicked out.
And funeral of it has to be Americans. They can't be foreigners, or especially they can't be maybe from the Philippines, but some kind of English, German, Americans.
Totally. It'll be fun. Let me know.
Yeah.
Call me up.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, let me know.
We'll go to a funeral party.
Funeral party, right?
Yes.
Funeral release party.
The So What crew.
The So What crew. That's right.
That's
why I love cemeteries too. I love cemeteries.
In the Chinese tradition, they actually hire crying ladies.
Ah.
So the crying ladies, they hire it because the more tears, apparently in the Chinese tradition, the more tears that are cried, I guess the wealthier the dead, meaning that it's important. Yeah.
Yes.
So the loudest the crying, they're like, oh, that must be something really important. So they would
special.
hire crying ladies. Yeah, that would be cry. Cry for hire.
Nice. Cemeteries too, you throw yourself on the grave. I like that one too. There's a song like that. Who sang that song? I can't think of the group, but I throw my body on the grave, something like that. It was the way they sang it. It was perfect. The image of it.
Thank you, Vera.
Thank you. Emerson.
There's a question here. Okay. Anne goes, so adulation outside and self-deprecation inside is the same as adulation inside and deprecation from others outside. None of this is true. Yes. Yes. And even the reaction is not true as well. There's no outside or inside. And that's the tricky persistence of this illusion, because there seems to be a narrative on the outside and a narrative on the outside, and none of them are true. So there's another question here about death. Isabel goes, when the character apparently dies, the dream continues then. You just know it is a dream, or does the dream end? And then what is left? So when the apparent character dies, oh, sorry, just a second. Dies. Oh, sorry, just a second. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah. So when the apparent character dies, since there's no character, no one will witness their own death. So there's no death. It's just another appearance. So continuing or ending is just another appearance or just another idea in this. I used a sunbat next to my friend Frank's grave. Oh, thank you. There's a question here. When is the third session? The third session is 2 hours after this one ends. Ella's with my brother right now. Thank you for asking, Bobby. I'll give her a hug. Hi, Nick. Yes, I have actually. A couple weeks ago. Have you spoken to? Yeah. Apparently, that character is just going back to school. Apparently. Sorry, someone, can you repeat? Yeah, basically, Nick is asking if there was an apparent speaker who seemed to have disappeared from YouTube completely. Yeah, that character is just basically just going back to school, apparently. Sorry, sometimes I forget that you can't see the direct message that's sent here. I'm just assuming that everyone can read it. Sorry. Hi, Emerson. I know that this is just a story. There's a huge investment in listening to your videos. I love the clarity. And I am afraid that maybe one day you will change your message or that you will take your videos down. Would that be a possibility? There's no one doing anything here. But in the story, and this is just a story, there's this passion in speaking about this. There's this sincerity in talking about this. This is not a temporal experience or a glimpse seemingly that happened. This is yeah, there's just this passion in speaking about this. Um, it might not be sustainable, you know what I'm saying, but to do this, but I love the videos, so we'll never take them down. There's a book that's happening, a couple of books happening, and there's just this gladness and enjoyment in sharing nothing at all. There's contentment here. There's contentment here, and there's this um yeah. So and this is just a story, so I don't foresee any future of changing any of this, because this is contentment. This is and I think I've explained this in another video in a much better way, actually. But there is just this finally enough. There's no more seeking energy. There's no more longing for anything. There's just this quiet contentment. In this quiet contentment, there's peace that cannot really be expressed. I hope that answers your question. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
No, I mean what she just said, or he just said,
Oh,
don't take
yeah.
your videos down. Was that the sweetest thing I've ever heard?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. That was so
Yeah.
sweet. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Wow. That's what I liked.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Hi, Emerson. Can you talk about that quiet contentment? Yeah, in this story, there was this character that was always restless, always wanting on to the next thing, always wanting to achieve, always having goals, always um there was just this restlessness, this seeking energy, this wanting to do some stuff, get something done. Basically the maintenance of a character. So there's no more maintenance of the character. So there used to be a high maintenance character of whatever, but there was but this quiet contentment is just this, it is what it is. Whatever it is. Yeah. So there's just this finally enough. Thank you for the question. question here. Does Emerson still have preferences? The character, you know what? It's a really not. It's just a story, but yeah, it still likes some cinnamon rolls. It likes this illusory minimalistic expressions. Yeah. So there's no Emerson, but there's a character. There's a character that is fully expressed. There's a character that seemingly laughs a lot, cries a lot, eats a lot, walks a lot, talks a lot. So the character is unleashed, but there's no one behind the character. There's no ownership anymore. There's a phantom character that comes in and out, eats lots of cinnamon rolls, does a lot of, walking. It's just just like any other stories. Yeah. You mentioned a lot of cinnamon rolls in your talks. Has anyone ever sent you one? Actually, for my birthday, the people from Toronto, there's this guy, I don't know if he's here. There's this guy that actually made, they took me out for my birthday and he made a cake out of cinnamon rolls. It's the best birthday cake ever. So apparently it worked. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. We're going to take a couple of hours of break and we're going to be back.